Okay, what's going on, guys? This is Liam and welcome back to yet another video. I just had the first call of the day. Just down there you can see I have a little system set up where I can take calls from people all over the world. Mostly it's America, but all over the world for sure. Now, I'm not accepting new clients in terms of calls anymore. If you've already paid for a call, book it anytime you like, it's perfectly fine. I'm booked up for 3 months. And that's only because I do rolling days of 90 days. I'm sure I'd be booked up for a year if I didn't have some sort of block on it, but you never know where I'm going to be. So I want to talk a little bit about, oh, and by the way, if you just want the standalone course, the calls normally come with a course. Now I'm not doing calls anymore for new clients. You can still get the course. Click below and you can get that, just so you know. Anyway, so back to the video. So I had a call today with a lovely lady from California. As I said, most of my clients are American. And she was talking to me about her life, and she's 71, a really nice lady actually. She was talking to me about her life and how she's going and how she's known about me for a long time. And how I think she's been following me since 2020 or something, so about 5 years now. And she still hasn't really implemented anything. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of the reasons she said is that, her tinnitus isn't really that loud, it isn't really that invasive most of the time. Sometimes she forgets it's even there because it's so docile and it's so, low down. However, she does have days where she can hear it above almost anything. And, that she mentioned one specific occasion of a baseball game where, loud baseball game. And she could hear it over anything. Now, I've never been to a baseball game, but I've been to many sports events, and it is loud. So, that's it sounds like it's up to the level where mine was for about 4 years straight. So I can empathize with that. It's hell on earth. But she mentioned something interesting. So I believe it was my last video that I did when I was in Bali, back in Chiang Mai now. But in Bali, I did a video about how, I think I called it cyclical panic, about how if you First, you need to get hope. So you need to stay off the tinnitus forums and actually know that tinnitus is fixable. It is. Same with hyperacusis, pulsatile tinnitus, vertigo, Meniere's disease, and most cases of visual snow and real hearing loss. Remember, if you have tinnitus and you go and get an audiogram from your audiologist or ENT, and they give you an audiogram and they say, oh, look at this, you have hearing loss in the exact same ear as your tinnitus and in the same frequency as your tinnitus. That's hearing loss, that's causing your tinnitus. That's what they say. That isn't even remotely true. It's not hearing loss, it's just interference. It's just that you can't hear those certain beeps and sounds in whatever ear because your tinnitus is louder than it. That is not hearing loss, that is interference. If you go in there with no tinnitus, zero tinnitus whatsoever, and then you fail a certain spectrum of the hearing test, then yes, you have hearing loss. But if you do have tinnitus, it's not an effective diagnostic tool, and it borders on stupidity. But it's part of a sales funnel. They get you in, they tell you about, you've got hearing loss, there's nothing you can do. You have to learn to habituate. You have to buy these earpieces. It is what it is. I'm not happy with it. But as soon as you can identify it and see what's going on, you can remember to, not be too emotionally affected by it. Stay off the forums, go and see an ENT if you want, get an MRI if you want, but just know their limitations, okay? And there are a lot. Anyway, so this lady's talking to me and she's telling me about her tinnitus, and she's been following me for about 5 years. And yeah, so I did the video on cyclical panic, and she mentioned, Liam, you said one thing that was really interesting in that video, which is that, you mentioned that there was a client you had who had your course, but yet didn't want to follow your advice because he was worried that it wouldn't work because you were his last resort. I tend to call myself really the only resort, and not me myself, but what I teach, because you can't fix tinnitus with a single medication. You can't fix it with stem cells, not long-term anyway. You can't fix it with CBT. Habituation and tinnitus retraining therapy is not fixing tinnitus. It's just learning to live with it, which is like, hey, you have this really horrific medical condition. Let me teach you how to live with it. I use the analogy actually in my book, which if you want to get, you have to get the course below. It's not available for individual sale. These are just some copies I carry around to sort of talk about it. But I use the analogy in my book or metaphor rather, or analogy, I guess, that if you are walking around and you have a stone in your shoe and you're walking around and it's like, hurting every time you take a step, what makes more sense? For someone to say, hey, don't take the stone out. Let me teach you how to learn to live with it. It's called stone habituation therapy. That's option one, okay, a bit weird. But a second person says, hey, I have an IQ above 7. How about we actually just look at this information which is already out there, aggregate it all together, customize it per person, and get that stone out of your shoe. Undo the shoelaces, get a shoehorn. Is it in the sock? Get it out, and then we can just move on with our lives. What one makes more sense? Now, that's just, an example. It takes longer and it's harder than that. But the principle is basically exactly the same thing. Sorry, messages. So this lady was telling me how she's wasted a bit of time, in her words, and she wants to, to do something about it. But it's interesting because when you see that something is your last resort, and you are losing hope with the things that you've paid for already and you've done already, and you realize allopathic medicine can't really give you much in terms of a solution to an underlying cause. Allopathic meaning like scalpel and medicine, like your local doctor sort of thing, right? If you see like an endocrinologist or an ENT, or you see an oncologist, that's allopathic medicine, right? If you see like a chiropractor or a naturopath, that's naturopathic medicine. Those are the two differences. And I think that we should marry the two together, because your local doctor doesn't know shit about nutrition, and also your chiropractor, normally, or maybe your naturopath, can't operate a magnetic resonance imaging machine, MRI, and really understand it like a radiologist. So we should work together, but unfortunately, people tend to pick a side, or the people don't want to work together, which is so stupid. Like, just get off your high horse and just decide to help the patient. Why don't you? Unbelievable. Anyway, so it's interesting, isn't it, how people would rather live with hope and tinnitus than rather give it a go and do something with an unbelievably high success rate. And I can sort of understand, like, they want to, even though they're in pain, they would rather live with tinnitus and with hope than, what could, in their mind, what could happen, which could be to live with tinnitus and no hope, which I don't see happening. I mean, look at my success rates, look at all the bits. It takes sometimes, for some people, it takes a long time. Some people are lucky it takes like 3 months. Another person, it might take like 2 years. It just is what it is. For the people who've had tinnitus for, I've had people who've had tinnitus for 12 years, and they get rid of it in, 4 months. And some people have had it for 3 months, and it takes like, a year to get rid of. It doesn't depend on how long you've had tinnitus for, how severe it is, which ear it is, what it sounds for, whether it's somatic tinnitus or not. Those things to me are pretty irrelevant. They might change the steps that we do, but they're not really going to indicate that much of a difference. What's going to indicate to me the steps we have to do, how hard it's going to be, and how long it's going to take is your lifestyle leading up to the onset of tinnitus. So, what have you been eating? How much time do you spend outdoors? What medications do you take? What exercise do you do? How's your sleep? How's your social life? How's your happiness? How's your posture? How's your BMI? All so on and so forth. And do you have mold in your home? Parasites? Do you have any root canals? This goes on. I have a huge questionnaire that people fill out. But for new people, that's not available anymore because I'm just busy beyond belief. So anyway, and it's just an interesting point of psychology. And she said to me, she's like, Liam, I'm hoping you could say something to me. Because, this is a nice woman, 71, who's in pain and she wants help, a little bit of motivation. Really lovely lady. Like, what a delight she is, truly. And she said, I'm hoping you can give something to me, to motivate me. Because she said to me, Liam, I can see my life is finite. And, I'm getting older and I'm limited in the things that I can do and I want it gone. And she said, so maybe you can give me some motivation to implement things. Because she kind of, put her toe in the pool in the water, but she never jumped in, which is never going to get you any results. And I said to her, I'll give you one, but it's brutal. But I've used it before. She says, sounds good. I said, do you have kids? She's like, I have 2 kids. And I say, I want you to imagine that you're on your deathbed. You're on palliative care. You're in hospice. And you're dying. It's your last day. And you're on morphine, or they're about to put you on morphine. You're still lucent. You can still, you're aware of everything, right? But you're dying of, pick something, I don't know, cancer. And you're there and your family's around, your kids are around and their grandkids are around, or whoever, your friends, and you still have tinnitus. And it's so loud because you let it go and you kept doing the things that you know you shouldn't have been doing, like, and this is not her, but anyone, you know, drinking coffee, not sleeping properly, using Bluetooth headphones, not exercising, avoiding the sunlight, you know, taking medications that were dangerous, you know, whatever. And you got worse, or maybe you're the same, and you're laying there in bed and your life is over, which is part of life. You know, I'm gonna die, you're gonna die, you know, who knows when. You know, if you're religious, you think it's up to God. If you're not, then it just happens when it happens. Either way, you're going to die. You will die. And you're laying in bed and all you can hear is your fucking tinnitus. And you lay there and think, I can't believe I just couldn't do it. I just didn't do it. And now my family is here crying, trying to tell me the one thing, like whether it's like, I love you, or here's the truth about that, or I always wanted to tell you this, and all you can hear is the ringing. It's all you can hear. And you hear their mouth moving like, and you just hear, and then all of a sudden, the curtains close and you're fucking dead. And are you thinking at that time, I'm so fucking glad I kept using Bluetooth headphones and drinking coffee, and I'm so glad I listened to those retards on the forum? Or do you want to be the person who's laying there in total silence, you know, with your loving family around, and the last things you hear are, we love you and goodbye? Do you want to hear the tinnitus, or do you want to hear the voices of the people that you love? So it's a brutal inspiration and motivation, but it's very apt, and I think it's appropriate, and I think sometimes people need to hear that. So I'll put this video on YouTube. Have a lovely day, and remember that tinnitus is not for life. Can take a little bit of time to get rid of. It's not always the easiest thing to get rid of, but it is possible. Goodbye.